Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to try to cover a few things here that we've done in the past. We're going to give you just a quick overview once again of the idea behind professional services and what we're here to do. We're then going to give you some examples of some things we've done recently for other resellers, and we'll take a look at two examples of things that we've done. If you attended the prior professional services webinar, you may have seen two of these items already. But in our list of items we'd like to go through, we think there are some things that we did that were fairly unique and definitely lend value to both PaperVision Enterprise, PaperVision Capture, and Image Silo. So with that, we'll go ahead and go through the first part of the slide presentation. When we get through this and through the examples that we're going to show, we'll open up for questions. Hopefully everybody knew that we were going to take questions for this and have some ideas of things they'd like to get to know or be familiar with. I do want to mention as well that Professional Services has a new member now. Herman Portillo from Support has joined Professional Services full-time and works with me now to both identify the needs that you present us and also help us meet those needs through custom code or any other service that we can provide, including training, on-site installation, and support. So I'd like to welcome Herman to the team, and he is available. We'll publish his contact information as well, so that if you can't get me directly, you will be able to reach him as well. We do work together full-time, even though I'm not in Denver, but we do have constant contact, and we do work on the projects together. Just as a quick overview, we're going to go into the idea behind professional services again, and I think the important thing I want to mention is that professional services still is completely centered around supporting the reseller channel. Whether we interact with you or with your customer, it will be through you. That relationship is controlled by and established by you, even though we do encounter situations where the reseller turns over the contact information to us and we work with the customer directly. Everything is done through you. Every contract's written through you. Every service we provide will go through the reseller. The idea behind this is to expand the capabilities of PaperVision Enterprise or Capture or even Image Silo to design a solution that meets or exceeds the client's expectations. We do have the ability to provide installation and training assistance as an extension of your services and even to act as members of your team. We're not there to promote ourselves as Digitech. We're there to promote your capabilities. And we are doing a significant amount of custom code and application integrations that should add value to the software and services you currently offer. Again, this program is completely developed with the reseller's needs and your end user requirements in mind. We're not marketing anything directly. Everything is done through you. And we're doing a lot of things internally right now that we wanted to get to that may help us work with different applications and work on some integrations that I know some of the members I've seen sign up today have asked us about in the past. So there will be some interesting things coming up that having Herman on the team and being able to manage our time a little better has given us the opportunity to take a look at. We are ultimately trying to increase your sales and affect your bottom line numbers by opening up opportunities within your existing base or within new customers, opportunities to sell our software in situations that you may have walked away from in the past because of the need to do something custom or provide an integration that you thought would be out of scope or out of capability with the product as we deliver it today. And we're going to cover a couple things that we've done that are completely unique, in some cases completely outside of the product, but accommodated the use of the product or accommodated the customer's need over and above the standard use of PaperVision Enterprise or Image Silo. Again, the whole idea here being to assist you in assessing your client's needs, provide our expertise and background. From an IT perspective, both Herman and I have been in the IT field itself as well as in content management, document imaging for an extensive period of time, and have experience with a variety of products as well as operating systems, environments, network configurations. Very recently we found especially that to be helpful in some of the situations we've encountered. We're on board to help you implement your installations and solutions quickly, improve ramp-up times, and the idea being that we can integrate across a variety of business models and take you out of the grind part of getting something done that is customer unique and let you move on and focus on the sales opportunities. The services that we're basing professional services around are listed here. Very many of these we're already doing with and have already done with existing resellers. Anything from project discovery and site analysis through application and consulting, PaperVision Enterprise web interface customization, PaperVision Enterprise workflow analysis and design, report management template design, a significant amount of custom API and code integrations, and I'll touch on that a little bit more when we get to the next session. Custom reports, both from a live data standpoint on PaperVision or Image Silo or through the data delivery service with Image Silo. Remote application installation and configuration, on-site implementation and personal training, web-based training, which we're expanding constantly. I think you've probably seen some more offerings from us this year on web-based training, and professional services will intend to or continue to expand upon that. We have been doing data conversions as well, anything from a variety of existing imaging systems to simple directories full of documents or images, usually out to a data group XML format that can be loaded natively in PaperVision Enterprise or Image Silo. We've done a tremendous amount of custom exports for PaperVision Capture, things that you would normally think or that you would normally expect from paper-flow experience, but also things that we never imagined anybody was still doing. One of the interesting ones was an export that dealt completely with the file names and directories all being in hexadecimal format, which I didn't think anybody was still using, but we did run across it, and we did build the capture exports exactly to mimic what the customer was doing with a different application. Herman and I both wanted to highlight some of the things that we've done recently because they were rather unique, and we also wanted to include some things that we did that would assist in converting to PaperVision Capture. And these aren't widely publicized, so we don't think you have an easy way to find out that these are available. That will change shortly. We are going to be posting a new professional services website that will be available to you through MyDSI. And you'll be able to take a look at some of the standard, or what we would consider standard exports or unique export and import utilities that we build that we think are usable by many resellers, not something that was a one-off. We probably won't publish any of the one-off type things that we've done, but we will certainly publish things that we think are useful to the reseller base at large. Starting with that, we did build a PaperFlow data group and central project database import utility for PaperVision Capture. And what that allows you to do is read either a data group MDB file or the central project database, and it will create job XML files for each of the projects, either in the individual data group or the central project database. The jobs will include a capture step only and will include all of the index fields that existed in your PaperFlow job. They will also extract the predefined values that you had assigned to those fields. Because the products are completely different, they don't create all of the settings that you would have for a field, But we had a lot of people come to us and say their biggest problem was they wanted to make sure they didn't spell a field name wrong, that they didn't have to retype the predefined value list because it may be too large or because they could make a mistake doing it. So we wanted to at least have something that would give you a place to start. So we did create that. We also created the capability to import a PaperFlow data group into PaperVision Capture. We did run into bureaus who said very often they will output a CD or a data group for a customer, and then the customer will hand it back to them because they need to make a correction or they need to be able to do something with that data group. So whether you're using PaperFlow today and you get something back after you convert to Capture, or whether within Capture you're outputting to a data group format and then maybe getting that data group back after you've destroyed the original batch, you will have the capability to import that data group back into Capture and run it through whatever processes you need to run it through. We've had a lot of different requests for exports, and not necessarily the export itself, but maybe something to just go along with the export. One of the things was we had a customer ask for custom code that would drop an Excel file that contained the field data in the folder with the documents that were exported, so they could grab that and run their own reports against it separate from the text file that's normally output. Or even if you're not doing a text output, if you're doing a PaperFlow data group output, they wanted a separate report that they could capture that. I think one of the things that intrigues both of us is that there's a tremendous amount of flexibility in what we do at the export step, from both standard document output formats to reporting capabilities. And I think that a little farther down in this list, we did mention that we created a custom code to populate a tracking database, which would give you some information linking batch IDs back to the PaperFlow data group IDs that were created when the documents were exported, and even to listing the index field values that were in each batch. We did have a lot of customers say that was something they needed to report on for their end user, that they needed to give them a list of the documents that were in a batch, as well as be able to track it back to the capture batch in case they needed to roll it back and do something else with it. Right now, exports are handled as an external process to Capture, in the sense that once it's output, we don't really track it back to Capture at all. It's a custom code step, it's an export, and we don't have any links back to what we've exported out other than the original batch. So we found that a lot of people would be interested in something that can populate a database that gives them all that tracking information from the external data that they've output all the way back into Capture and the originating batch. The other idea, I think, behind professional services was to do some things that may not necessarily deal directly with custom code within a PaperVision Capture batch or within a standard PaperVision interface. So we've had a variety of utilities that we've written for customers to perform different tasks that really you would consider it to be outside of PaperVision or outside of Capture, but because we were able to do this, they found that they could expand the use of our products and accomplish their goals without having to go out and do something completely on their own. So one of the good examples of that is we had a customer who ships orders out of different facilities all day long, and they do that in a completely different system, and those orders have information stored in image silo that actually has to be retrieved and printed with each shipment. So they use their line of business application to populate an Oracle table that lists each new shipment, the index values that we need to retrieve the document from image silo, and the destination printer, because in their case they ship from facilities all across a wide area network, and the printers could be anywhere in the country. And we actually monitor that Oracle database. We go out to image silo, we retrieve the documents for them, and then we print them to the required printer so that it goes to the same printer that the packing slip and invoice or whatever other shipping document they produce goes to. Prior to that, it was a manual process for them. Someone would have to generate the shipment from the Oracle system, then go to Image Silo, look up the documents, and print each one individually out to that printer, and it was a very tedious task. We did a couple of other neat things in that if they ship a document or they ship an item that we can't find a corresponding document for in Image Silo, we actually print the indexes out for them and indicate on that sheet of paper that there was no record found for that document. So wherever that shipment is going, the person who's receiving the shipping documents and receiving the reports or documents from Image Silo, they know whether they have a document for everything that's required or not, and if they don't, they know which document is missing. So this really takes place completely outside of Capture or PaperVision Enterprise or Image Silo, but that's a capability we wanted to get across, because there are many things we can do that are not just product-centric, but they do facilitate the use of the product by allowing a customer to accomplish something they're trying to accomplish without them having to develop it on their own. One of the other things we ran into, and it has to do with the difference between PaperFlow and PaperVision Capture, is how can I change the way I break documents within a capture step or even within a custom code step? One of the things that you may run into is you may decide, well, half of this box is single-page invoices and the other half are multi-page, and I don't necessarily want to put barcodes in front of every single page, but I'm definitely going to have to do that in front of the multi-page. So one of the things we came up with was a custom code piece that would allow you to scan all the single pages into a document, scan the rest of your documents in that batch with the regular barcode cover sheet, and then you can execute a custom code step, which will prompt you for how many pages are in your fixed number of pages document, and break those documents for you automatically. If anybody on the call is familiar with Capture, you know that setting is a job-based setting, and you normally can't change it from within a batch, but there's a way around it through custom code. And I wouldn't say that everything is considered a way around. There are significant things you can do with custom code within a batch that you never had the capability to do with PaperFlow. One of the other things we encountered while we're tracking statistics, in addition to what we output from an export, but within Capture we do track a significant number of statistics. And we had a customer who said, I want my guys to be able to run this report, but they're going to run it from wherever they're at. They're not necessarily going to have a Capture license or have a reporting tool available to them. So we wrote some web-based reports where they could host them on an internal website, and they can go to that URL from any desktop and run the reports and take a look at their Capture statistics live, real time. And that was a very handy report for them because they ran multiple facilities, and they wanted to be able to take a look at a point in time to see what production was like, what they were building up from a payroll and overtime perspective, how long it took to prep certain jobs. They were able to report on that through a web interface. And lastly, one of the things we've done a tremendous amount of is custom exports. And there's a lot of flexibility there, things that came up through customer requests that we actually hadn't even thought might be a possibility. But one of the common things we're using a lot more now is data group XML files. And if you're familiar with our data group XMLs, they do support other image formats, but the export in Capture is TIFF images only. So we did modify that. We have modified that to output different file types based on customer requests. And in addition to that, with our new OCR module, we can output standard or searchable PDFs still in a data group XML format. So that gives us some more flexibility for exports from within the product. One of the more powerful things I think that we worked on was a customer request for additional reporting capability within workflow. They processed their workflow at multiple facilities. They came back to us and said, we need more detailed reports. We need to see what an individual has done for a week, for a day, for a month. We need to look at entire facilities. We want to be able to specify a report criteria that gives us an overview of what's going on from a production standpoint anywhere. In addition to that, they wanted the ability to identify problem documents, see what had happened with them, and possibly change the process or identify a problem from a reporting perspective that they wouldn't normally be able to see just by looking at a workflow status report, or that they would have to normally drill down to a specific document to see this information. So we built a combination report that works off data delivery. We're not limited to data delivery, but there's a difference in the way image silo and PaperVision work that may make you make a decision to go one way or the other. When it's PaperVision Enterprise, you have direct access to SQL, so running any significant report is not an issue. You can run it locally, you can run it live against your SQL database. When you get to image silo, you have to actually download records in chunks based on the way the queries are run, and sometimes the amount of data that you're looking to report on may be significant enough that you're better off doing that through a data delivery capability rather than trying to download chunks of data from silo. It really depends on what you're looking to report on, how large the initial query is, and we can pretty much give you an idea of what the possibility of running that report through a API versus using data delivery is. But we do need to evaluate it. We do need to take a look at it with you and make that determination. So in this report, they had the ability to run either a workflow completed or a workflow status report. They could specify a date range, and they could pick any one of their facilities to run the report on, or if they didn't choose a facility, it would run it across all facilities. Once they ran the report on a facility, and in this case what we're looking at is a workflow completed by week, they could specify a month, a year, and they can, again, choose the location, and then it would list each of the workflow participants and how many documents they completed or exited the workflow within a given week. This gave them some great idea on what their production was like by person, by facility, and they could tell where their bottlenecks might be just from running this report. In addition to that, there was a workflow incomplete report that they wanted to run by date range and also by facility. What made this report really neat was that they could run it on any group, any location, any date range, and it would list all the workflows that were incomplete as of the evening before. This was utilized with data delivery, so they would take the delivery of a new database in the morning, update the SQL table, and then run these reports from anywhere that they had access to SQL, their local SQL install. So you can see from the report that it lists the amount of days the document was in workflow, which is really a great indicator of a problem document. But it also lists the start time, the document indexes, the document ID, and the workflow instance ID associated with the document. One of the neat things about this report is you'll notice there's a plus sign next to each one of the workflow instances. So when I go to the next screen, I'm actually able to click on that plus sign and fully expand everything that's happening with that document. When did it enter, who handled it, when it left the last step, and where is it sitting now. So from a troubleshooting standpoint, this gave them a tremendous amount of information to look at these documents and figure out how and why it had been in the workflow for 238 days, and the ability to troubleshoot and follow up, talk to the last person who handled the document and find out exactly what the issue was. This was a big benefit to them because of the number of facilities and number of people involved in workflow. They didn't have a good way to follow up and find out where their problems, where their issues were, and they were having complaints from different departments and or vendors about their their processing times. One of the other things we did, and we're showing this example because it's almost a requirement, when you get into 2D barcodes, anything beyond a standard 1D barcode, the barcode consists of a lot more information than what you're used to. What you actually get when you read this barcode is an XML string that needs to be parsed in order to capture the particular index fields and plug them into the fields within Capture. So while we can scan the barcode, read the barcode, you still need a custom code piece in order to plug the values into the indexes within PaperVision Capture. So in the case of this barcode, what you actually get when you read the barcode is this string of data right here. And this varies for every barcode. There is no hard, fast 2D barcode. 2D barcodes are designed to be formattable. So I can represent any kind of information I want in a 2D barcode. You're going to have to read it, and you're going to have to know what pieces of it you want to capture and where you want to place them. So in this case, what you're seeing is what resulted from reading that 2D barcode, which is an XML file. And you can easily see that most of the field names are identified, the field values are there, but you have to have a way to read this into the proper index fields in Capture. So we actually wrote the custom code that would parse that XML string and drop all the index values into the correct fields for you. Again, this is custom from the standpoint that every installation is different. Every 2D barcode can be different. So there's nothing you can do hard and fast to say, okay, read your 2D barcodes and parse them this way. It's going to be different with each barcode, so you have to test it and modify your custom code to work with that particular barcode and handle the index values the way that you want them handled. Professional services is contract-based, so if you come to us with a need, we will attempt to define what that need is. We'll probably initially give you an estimate for what we think the work involved in meeting your requirement is. Once you get a clearance from your customer or agree to the estimate, we will do a contract and a statement of work to go with it. We do try to make that as detailed as possible. Obviously, we do encounter changes. Depending on how significant the changes are, we may need to rewrite or amend the contract according to the changes in the job, but we do try to nail down the requirement and make sure that the statement of work is accurate before we ask you to sign it, before we commence work. Very often, though, you'll find that things change when you get on site. We had a good example recently of a project that we defined for a customer. We installed a demo. They ran it for a while. Everything looked great. They purchased it. We went to install it, and unbeknownst to them, their IT department had changed all their forms. So the entire project had to change because there was a forms request change that had gone in 6 months earlier. Nobody remembered that it was there. IT scheduled it. When they finally got around to it, they did it. So those are the kind of things that we encounter. They're about the only kind of issues we'll run into once we've helped you define the statement of work. But there's no way to account for those. Things happen. Customers change their mind. And very often if you're going off someone's word, and we will ask you for samples, but if you're going off someone's word, you may find that what you actually get and what you talked about are two different things. And we will get back to you. We don't just arbitrarily add hours or time to a contract. Everything would be altered to accommodate the changes that we encounter. We do offer on-site services as well. Those are based on a 2-day minimum simply because of travel. And the travel can affect that 2-day minimum. It depends where we're coming from, where your customer's at, and how long or hard difficult it is to get there. I was looking at a possible travel arrangement recently where it was actually going to take 3 days to get to on-site. So that does affect the travel rate. Domestic U.S., I think a 2-day minimum is going to hold just about to anywhere. and assuming that one of those days is going to be wrapped up in travel, more than likely out and back. But again, we're going to quote these on your specific circumstance. We will look at what the travel involves. We will give you a realistic estimate of what we think is on-site time as well as travel time. For those of you that don't have my direct number, that 800 number at the top there is a direct number to me, and that is my email address as well. And we encourage you to contact us as early as possible. We would like to be involved from the minute you're looking at the opportunity. We want to make sure if there's something special you need or you even think that you need, that we get the opportunity to let you know whether we think we can do that for you or not. We also would like to help identify opportunities where you may think we're not a fit, but that a minor change or a minor application from professional services may make PaperVision Enterprise or PaperVision Capture an ideal fit. We don't really want to walk away from deals where we don't think there's a huge investment of our time or effort to make it fit your customer's need. And there is a professional services webpage which we continue to expand. You're probably going to want to access the one through MyDSI. The one listed under the main page is general information, but we're going to have very specific information, examples of custom code and exports that we've done available to you through the MyDSI site. So ideally, you're going to want to log into MyDSI and take a look at professional services through there. We're going to try to keep that updated frequently as we make changes, as we make enhancements, and as we come out with new custom code modules that we think will be beneficial to the reseller base. Thank you for joining. Please contact us if you need anything.